I agree with you, and we're in a huge victim society. I mean, you look at the billboards, like from the injury lawyers, basically
Ugh.
say exactly, you have been victimized, and you should be compensated for it.
Larry, how do we do that? And I ask in this context, and I'm sure you've had this conversation before, but when I'm 52, I don't know how old you are, but when I was a kid, you were on your own. I mean, the world today relative to the world in the 70s and the 80s when I was a kid, and even in the 90s in my 20s, was a way different world than today. And the independence that you needed in the 70s and 80s. I mean, there was, 70% of the world was starving in the 1970s compared to 10% of the world today. Who we are as a nation here in the United States is so different from who we were 30 and 40 years ago. And we live in a victimhood mentality. The society is inundated. Every time you turn around, it's somebody else's fault, either because the person telling you that is trying to take power from you, or you're looking for the reasons why you are where you are in your life, and so you're pointing other directions. So, in that context, where you're 22 years old and you're inundated with everything as everybody else's fault, and you're the victim and you're put upon and you're in a minority class, right? You've been victimized. How do we get over that? How do we achieve over the
It-
top of that?
I agree with you, and we're in a huge victim society. I mean, you look at the billboards, like from the injury lawyers, basically
Ugh.
say exactly, you have been victimized, and you should be compensated for it. It doesn't mean that in some cases maybe somebody shouldn't be compensated, but you know, the system is. I was talking to my son today, and the system is really built in for our benefit. When we move to who we are as divine beings, recognizing our divine beings and our strength that's within us, there's a lot of joy and peace there. Okay. When we are acting from like a victim mentality, it just doesn't feel good. Now, it may get you attention temporarily, or I mean, it really comes down to how it makes you feel, and it comes down again to awareness, and that you want to, you're aware that you're doing these things, and let me say, we all act like a victim at certain times. Okay,
Sure, right.
but we but we have to make it has to be temporary. We just can't stay in that victim mentality. So I acted as a victim a lot, like in my relationships, especially my relationship with my wife for a long time. Then I'm like, this just doesn't feel good to me. I don't want to do that. That's not who I am, and it just doesn't feel good. So I just basically stopped doing it. I mean, I may do it every blue moon now or something, but it's kind of like
Right.
that's like old fumes, okay, that just don't
Yeah.
serve me anymore.
If you, and I don't know about you, but I catch myself. So I'll say to my wife something I would have done before, maybe not listen to her as much as I should, or when I say listen, I mean actually pay attention for longer than 5 seconds. And as I've gotten older, I work on it, and then every now and then I'll catch myself, and I'll go, and I have to say, my fault. I'm sorry. I stopped listening. Right. I just like I used to. I did it again. Please go on, and and you have my undivided attention. So I could have never done that when I was 35 years old, but I could do it when I'm 50 years old.
You know, I mean, that's exactly where we need to be. I mean, you're basically taking steps, and you're admitting when you're saying I'm sorry, and saying we're sorry to people is extremely important. I mean, doesn't mean we should be in guilt about it. It just means, look, like I'm learning. I don't have this down completely. I haven't perfected this, and they can hear that, and they can understand that, and they can basically forgive you. And then the next time, it's like learning in school. The next time you're going to be a little bit better at it, and a little bit better at it. And so I have to, like, when I talk to people that are actually working on themselves and wanting to work on themselves and wanting to be better, husbands or wives or whatever it is, I have to like say kudos to you and commend them, because this is what the world needs. Every one
Hmm.
of us who acts less like a victim each time we're doing that is improving the world, because we know the world sure as hell needs it now in
Hmm.
terms of people blaming others.